Oh, so about that interview in Canada.
We didn't get interviewed in Canada.
What?
We didn't get interviewed in Canada.
Is that a dream?
Could have been a fever dream.
And you're doing lots of drugs then.
I mean, if not anywhere, Canada's the best place.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously, be real.
Right
here.
after movement, you know.
Yes, absolutely. That's pretty sweet. Look at that. Framed up. Like that. Cute. Well, Steve, dog, you look sleepy.
I'm a little sleepy. I'm still a little tired from the weekend.
I was about to say, it's been, what, it was 2 days ago now. And you guys just threw another Freak Fest. 10 out of 10 from what it sounded like. It was super awesome.
Pretty freaky.
Pretty freaky.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we went a total of 13 hours.
13 hours is, yeah. Jasmine was telling me you guys did it with like the time change and everything. Just like,
Yeah, so I mean, we did the 12 plus another hour even with the time change. So
Yeah.
that's why it ended up being noon.
people got their money's worth and done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And pancakes.
And
At
pancakes.
7 a.m.
And Red Bull.
Yep, and Red Bull. Red Bull and pancakes you'll get at
Well, I
7
also made a huge thing of mate. I made
yeah.
4 gallons of mate.
Yeah,
So
concentrated.
yerba mate I made.
That's
Dance
pretty
floor
sick.
was going pretty.
I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe.
About 2.5 gallons of it.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Really? All of that?
Yeah.
I would be buzzing. That would be a problem.
You can feel the hair growing out of your the
Out of your pores.
skin on your arms.
Yeah, for real. That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have been, because when we were talking about bios and stuff, I was searching. I did a deep dive. I read so many INTELLEPHUNK and Steve biographies in the last
Did you
2
read
weeks.
his bio that says, I don't do bios?
I did read that bio, and it made a lot more sense when it came to me
Best-
trying to
best
get a
bio.
bio.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Yeah.
he really doesn't want to send me this
Well,
bio.
also just like it for a long time. Like when I started going to things, like I'd go to a party and I'd be like, the headliner that had a bio would be like Laurent Garnier, and they're like, you know, he was like the DJ at the Hacienda, and like he basically invented this and that and the
Yeah.
other thing, and there was like an actual story there to like care about.
Yeah.
By the 2000s, like every bio is like just like some made up shit about like how important somebody was that didn't seem very realistic, and it just kind of seemed pointless at a certain,
I can see
you know.
that.
And now it's coming around back to where I'm like, okay, maybe we've done enough stuff to where like you could, you know.
I was
like,
just
but-
about to say. I was like, if we're talking about importance and culture, you guys, like, collectively, or at least for Minnesota, at the very, very least for Minnesota, like, in my eyes, and I think a lot of other people's eyes, you guys are, like, collectively, like, the ones that have continued keeping the scene, like, crushing here. I mean,
Driving to.
I think in my specific case, I mean, there was a scene here when I got here,
yeah.
and it was the thing, but like also, I had a very specific thing that I saw that I wanted to see happen more, and a lot of that had to do with like headier music that got played late at night.
Yeah.
And like sort of extending those situations or creating them, because a lot of times the cooler stuff that I was finding like wouldn't be like at a thing here.
Right.
It would be like at an event like tied to like a festival or something, like an after party, or like something that happened like the next morning after the party. You know, and to do that here in Minneapolis was very daunting. Like you could never really get the anybody's energy to last past 6 a.m.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which it's like, we're just not that kind of city, you know, and people party when they party it's like I kind of like do the math on like different cultures of how we got here, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of see Minneapolis, like that city, as like it's like a farm and college town, like a town where you come to, historically you'd come to sell your like crops here or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And people like party really hard, really fast.
Yeah.
They drink a lot. And like, so that doesn't always like equate to like late night things,
Yeah.
you know? And so
quick in and out.
yeah, like it works like a lot of that like 2 a.m. like go till 2 a.m. go home.
Yeah, right.
You know,
right.
and I'm like really I think the best things I've ever been to don't even get good till 3 a.m.
Yeah,
You know, so yeah.
So I mean, just we were talking about it earlier, like changing the culture, right?
Totally, absolutely.
Like, you know, wake up at 3.
Yes.
And then come to the party, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that it was like the vibe that we're trying to bring in, especially with these like 12, 13-hour parties.
Yeah.
It's changing that culture a little bit to really explore like what.
Absolutely. Yeah. When we were talking about that while Steve was playing, we were talking about how I had somebody message me and they were like, yeah, I woke up at 4 in the morning, took a shower, started my day by going to this party, had the time of my life, left, and had the rest of my day ahead of me with like perfect sleep. And they started with the show. I mean, people usually end their night with the show. To start with the show is like, what a cherry to start off with.
I mean, I've been trying to do that for a long time for myself when I would being a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
Like when Miles was little, Jasmine would work all day.
Yeah.
And I would be with the kid all day.
Yeah.
And then I would need a nap before I could go out. So I would go out a lot at like 2 or 3 a.m. and started taking a lot of gigs that were like sunrise set and things like that. And like I kind of already had that reputation for doing those things here anyways. But, you know, like just there... I feel like a lot of electronic music, as much as all of it's like kind of electronic dance music anyways, like a lot of it's, even though it's dance music, it's not as focused, some of it, on like a kind of a dance floor that just kind of continues. And like a lot of like stuff is like very like get on the dance floor for 20 minutes and then you get it out and get off kind of thing. Or you know, or even like you get in, you like on the floor for a few minutes, you go and you get your drink, you come back and there's like social activities and whatever. And like a lot of the stuff that I'm like more drawn to is more like you just shut the fuck up for like a few hours and like you put your head in the speaker and then it, you know, follow the trail. Like if you leave, you like lose your place, you know. And so it's like watching a movie, walking away, and then missing a scene and coming back and expecting to know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, like, I think a lot of the stuff that we're trying to do is more that longer format sort of thing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and there wasn't always a culture for that, not only here, but a lot of places in America, you know.
Definitely. There's nothing worse than the guy that like leaves during the middle of an episode, comes back, and is asking questions every fucking 5 seconds. So what just happened? It's like, dude, you missed out.
You missed out. You have to be. I think that's the thing is like, it's easy to say that techno music is like kind of very like basic and superficial because it's like very like it's very surface level if you just walk up to it, see it, and hear it for 30 seconds or 2 minutes and then walk away.
Definitely.
If you jump in and you stay there, you stay with it and you follow it, there's something there, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's like the journey is very simplistic, but it also is like very powerful. It doesn't need to have a whole lot of like change or innovation to have the same powerful experience.
Yeah.
You know?
Those long blends are like what I'm here for. I mean, as a person that's grown up playing a lot of different music, like starting off as a young metalhead kid to like doing like electronic music stuff, and then eventually dubstep, and then jungle drum and bass, techno, blender stuff. I've always been super interested in listening to those storytelling long blends when people are starting to push tracks together that just are like coupled, and then you're just switching bass lines, you're having like back and forth conversations from song to song. That's like, I mean, that's what really intrigued me to like continue like really spearheading into like techno music, getting to listen to so many different artists. Like when you hear those tracks, artists like yourself, or like I mean, my favorite set at uh the Great Beyond was Polygonia's set. I mean, it was like, it was also like midday. Everybody was just waking up and finally getting back on their feet.
Kind of wish you had had a later set time slot, because it was just so mental. It was so good.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was like because I was like, I just got there. I was super excited. You guys had just walked me in, and you and Dave and a handful of other people were like, these are people that you really need to see. And then I just like ended up in front of her set at like the beginning of the transition into her set, and was like, I was there with Jack, and like, well, I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna leave the spot right now. Eventually, I mean, Jack had been there the night prior. Everybody's tired and has been up since like the ass crack of dawn. Went to bed at 8 in the morning, and I'm fresh. So I was like, you can go walk around, but I'm not leaving.
Me.
Yeah,
I'll be right here.
I'm fucking here. Like, yeah. It is the best. I mean, it's everything. The way you described all of that is like, when I think about techno music, first full on like techno, like hours long set that I've ever seen, it was exactly that. Everybody was coming in and out, and they're all like, want to come to this other stage? And I was like, no. Like, I can't. I don't want to.
Can't miss it.
I don't want to miss what's happening next, because there's something been building up here for this long, and when it happens, is like, I'm really excited about it, and then there's like another transition into something else, and I'm like, I just don't know what's coming, and I want to know. So it's a really good description.
Yeah, I mean, I think that music lends itself to like a kind of internal kind of experience, you know.
Definitely.
And also it lends itself well to the like, I think one of the things that I mostly like see happening with like what's going on with like techno music and just like gatherings that are based around music that's a bit more challenging than just like the surface level stuff. I think for one thing, like in America, you have this thing where like not a lot of people just understand. Sure, yeah, within the scenes you have people that understand, right? But from the outside, a lot of people don't understand like the kind of concept of like spending time like with people, your friends and stuff, like kind of around music, and like just having it be like this like mutually like beneficial like kind of experience for all of us, like where like it is kind of like changing the values of Americans like slowly.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, definitely. And I think that like that's like super necessary. Like the culture here is like everything is very competitive.
Yeah.
You know, like people don't really understand things where there's not like a come up or a winner and a loser.
Yeah.
And so like this music lends itself very well to those experiences. And in my eyes, like just gathering around this music is like a protest itself, you know, like we're kind of like redefining like what people like value in their day to day, you know.
Absolutely.
And when we do like, you know, we work really hard on all of our stuff like year round. We don't really have like, even that's like kind of something that developed in the last 5 years, you know, like we've always worked hard at our shows, but we didn't have like this many things going on, you know. And like,
you guys got a crew
when
too.
we work on something, you know, obviously we budget things so that we end up like hopefully like making money on them so that we can keep working to that extent. But the people who come to our events, they also like go to a work every day, and then they come and they end up paying to get in the event, whether they think it's fair price or not.
Right.
We're all like working together to make these things happen. Like
Definitely.
my day to day doesn't change from like techno music or doing like parties and such.
Yeah.
But like I'm still working like really hard, and like not like doing it for like as hard as we work, and at the age that I am, you know, I could probably be doing a lot of things where I'd be making a lot more money, you know. But like the reality is like it has so much more value to me to like be a part of this like community and building community, you know. And I don't think that like you can play whatever kind of music you want. There has to be sort of a demand from an audience that like understands what you're doing for it, for anything to be like some sort of like culturally relevant like movement or something like that.
Definitely.
And like that takes, sometimes that just happens, right, by chance, but mostly like you have to build that, you know. And we've been lucky enough to over the years like kind of build like demand and that tension for the things that we're doing or the things we're bringing in, even more importantly, you know. Like people are masters at the craft of like really like putting your brain on a platter and carrying it, you know, like
into the fucking void. Like,
yeah. And so like, you know, like sometimes like I think people forget how much they are a part of like making all of this happen.
Absolutely.
They might not have the life where they like it's techno,
Right.
but the you know, them going to work, them like paying to get in, that is literally like what makes it all happen, you know.
100%.
Absolutely.
So, in a lot of places, in like other countries and stuff, you know, a lot of these festivals and stuff are like subsidized by like the government or whatever. And that's like not really necessarily a thing here. You know, and so you almost have to change like how people think about like how the music fits into people's lives, you know, for it to matter.
Well, you guys built, like you're saying, you guys have put a lot of work in. You've built a community over 25 years, 27 plus years of INTELLEPHUNK. Like, I mean, you guys have put in endless amounts of work, and then I think one of the things that like should really be stated is that I think there are a lot of things that start in Minnesota. Like a lot of people start things here, but like as time goes on, the expansion of what you can do in this state, like you were saying, it's hard to keep it rolling. So a lot of people's careers start here and they move on to different places, and then they continue doing things elsewhere, either other states in the US or out of this country. You guys have stayed and continued to try, regardless if that was the plan or not, but you guys have. And you
Yeah, I
guys
mean,
have,
I don't think that it was necessarily the plan. Neither was leaving though either.
right.
You know, a lot of our friends like hit a stride with success like maybe 15 years ago or so, or maybe a little bit more. And the options for them like to continue their careers were leave, you know. And we were already seeing that a lot before it happened with a bunch of my friends. But so I already had opinions on that then. But even more importantly, like, you know, I was kind of like a rave casualty to a certain extent. Like, you know, like I had like an 11-year like meth addiction and like was very like off the rails with where I was at around that period of time. And like, I definitely wasn't doing the things that I needed to be doing to make it anything happen to myself for myself at that period of time. And so that was like a hard thing to like realize then, like, yeah, you're fucking up, man. You know, like all this opportunity here, you could be doing way more with this, and you're kind of fucking up. You know, that was like right when our son was born, and like
Rupert,
I had a lot of like growing up to do to like, you know, get through that. And like at the end of the day, like it worked out because it was like everyone else left and I kind of ended up being the home team or whatever. You know? And for several years after like Miles was born, it was still very much like just like kind of making it like existing, you know, surviving. And then at a certain point, it just started to hit a stride where like I think that I was living a much healthier life and I was able to like see the things I was fucking up a lot and like started like realizing, well, I have a lot to offer like here, you know.
Absolutely.
And I started not thinking about like things I was missing out on and like kind of got things like my, you know, I would admit that like when like Zach and Dustin and stuff like first like really started getting like successful, that I definitely like was like had a lot of jealousy to that, and I came to a point where like I realized like how stupid and like short-sighted that was, and like really started to deal with just like growing the fuck up, you know. And from there it's really just been like an evolution, you know. Like I think the reasons that we were doing events and like doing techno in the first place since the beginning were always sound, you know. And I just was not in a great place, you know. And so like when I was able to like heal myself and like kind of like go through a lot of these things, like came to a point where like, you know, Jasmine wasn't very involved like for a long time, and then like once things started to come together where our life was just a little bit more stable, then we started like working together on this stuff. And you know, that's been since 2018 that we've like been doing things together. And I guess like for a lot of years it was like kind of like trying to grow a community like of like local people who cared about the stuff. But then like when we got to the point where like, you know, we did the further event for like 4 years with drop bass in Wisconsin, and the last 2 of those we were like partners on it.
Yeah.
We learned a lot about how to do like a bigger, regional kind of event like that.
Yeah.
We also learned what we didn't want out of our own events, and what we really did want out of our own events, and it just started to see a place for a smaller, like more focused like event that was based more around like late night dance floors, more like space for inclusivity, more like room for queer folks, like trying to make like something that felt like it had a little bit more value than just like party.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like since the beginning, it's always been there were people who showed up at our stuff.
Yeah.
That you knew that like maybe they're not the cool kids, I am not the cool kids, and like because of like us like having like been sort of in a position of like what we do for a long time now, I think people sometimes assume that we are, but like Intellefunk is for dorks by dorks since 1998.
Yeah.
And like for me, like going to events, especially at a certain period in my life, it was like saving me.
Yeah.
I worked like this boring ass fucking job all week.
Yeah.
And the like hours I got to spend on the dance floor were like the thing that like gave my life purpose.
Yeah.
It was the thing that like really like decorated my life and made it worth living.
Yeah.
And like when I started doing my own events, I would notice these people who showed up all the time.
Yeah.
And they're not the people who know everybody. They're not the people who are like, but they're the people who are there on the dance floor at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And like, they're the ones who are getting the most out of the experience and like making it for them. And those are the people that we do our events for.
Definitely. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to try to speak for y'all right now, but I might, you guys will have to correct me. If you're watching this and you knew them or knew me before any of these types of things were happening, before we were ever doing music, before we were ever doing whatever, and you were fucking with us as kids, we're the ones out here having fun now, and y'all probably go to a 9 to 5 and hate your fucking life. That's just, I feel like that tends, when you look at history and you look back at the kids that were like, I peaked in high school, you're like, bummer, that's pretty young,
Super bummer.
That's a long way down after that. And like, dorks are always the ones, maybe not always, but a lot of the times, the ones that end up like trying to find like either maybe not their purpose, but like find a way to like create their vision into like a more meaningful thing, and like they're just driven more not to not be dorks but to be understood, right? Like it's like we're not trying to be different, we're just trying
accepted.
To be accepted. Like
absolutely. On some level of like, I don't need everyone to like me. You have to deal with me.
Exactly.
Like I'm me and I'm here. That's not gonna change. So it's kind of this thing of like, when you find like your group of people, it's, you never want to lose that again, and for me, like it was like I grew up in a small town, very isolated. And when I was a teenager, I was like exposed to more. But then it was like taken away too. And once it like was taken away, it was like, I don't want to live like this anymore. And like once I became like an adult, it was like, how do I build something for people who are like me?
Totally.
You know,
Absolutely.
how do I give back to that thing where like, you know, I think music definitely saved my life when I was a teen. And how do I continue that for others?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, you've been doing it now since 98, and then teamed up with a partner that's absolutely, the two of you together have made some seriously cool things. Like, I want to jump onto also talking about, if you guys haven't been to Minnesota for shows, you need to travel here, because there is now, you were talking about all the work you guys have been doing the last 5 years. I mean, we were talking earlier too. The warehouse. It once was a little bit like it was a space that was having some shows being thrown at it. It was kind of like, ugh.
It was kind of like a place.
Yeah, it's a place that you could
plug in your speaker.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, it's this place that like, I mean, even when I have other people that are traveling here, I'm like, have you guys heard of this yet? And they're like, either they're like, yeah, but I haven't been and I want to know, and take me there. And that happens now for the warehouse that you guys have put crap loads of time and energy into, but also communion. Like, every time there are people out here, I'm always like, are you going to stay till Sunday? And they're like, what? Or they're like, oh yeah, I heard about communion. Like, a lot of them have already heard about it, and I'm like, you guys should go. Like, I'll take you. Like, it's one of those things where like you guys have continuously put so much time and energy, and especially like you said, over the last 5 years, just even aesthetically, like when you walk into the space, you're like, this feels like what it sounds like. You know what I mean? Like, like when you look at food and it looks good, and then you taste it, it tastes good, you're like, oh fuck yeah, thank God. It's like, sometimes it can look good but doesn't taste so good. When you walk in there, you're like, this sounds amazing. The artists that you guys curate and put on are always like either new and doing something cool, or they've been around doing it for a long time, and you guys are just like giving them a platform to continue pushing their sound. It's, you guys really think about every step of the process to make what it is now. And also, so there's the warehouse, got to come here for that, and there's the Great Beyond, which is coming up in July. So, which,
the last week of July.
Yeah, my family moved the family reunion for the first time in like 40 years a week later. Last year, I went straight from my family reunion, got home, the next day came out to the Great Beyond and was like, oh my God, this place is so sick. Can't wait to come out here next year. And then I was like, oh, my family has to just go out here and ruin this. It's another one of those things where it's like, you guys put in so much work. And shout out Sam Loftus. You guys are putting on people that are doing incredible lights. I mean, that was insane.
Yeah,
like,
Sam just
crazy.
Yeah.
And so the sound was crazy. The environment was crazy. The artists were crazy. I mean, the whole thing was like an experience that it's kind of tough to explain. You just have to go.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's become like the thing that made a lot of things that we always wanted to do a bit more feasible. As far as like, it's really hard to do events in Twin Cities with a techno headliner that costs, you know, $2-3 grand or more.
Right.
Like everything that cost $3 grand, you know, 5 years ago is now like $6 grand.
Yeah, totally.
So, you know, it's really hard to do these sorts of events just here in Minneapolis without kind of like having something to like kind of bring people into the fold a little bit more to know what they should expect.
Totally.
And with Great Beyond, it's a platform that really like allows for that to happen. And the fact that we came in like right at the end of the pandemic, we were like one of the first events that happened afterwards.
Yeah.
The fact that it was outside completely, not in a tent or even any of that, like made it a lot more like, okay, we can pull this off, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely.
And
We didn't ruin the.
Yeah.
Because of that, there were a lot of people who engaged from other cities, like,
Oh,
you know.
sure.
And so between that and the fact that we do always put a good amount of energy and money into bringing like, you know, world-class like talent,
Yeah.
it's had a lot of engagement from people from both coasts, all over the country, you know. And that's not been an easy thing to build here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
You know, and so we're really lucky to have that. And while we're having it, we're trying to use it to not only like bring things we could never bring here before, but seed the field for actually bringing those things here.
Yeah.
As well as like trying to take like not only Minneapolis artists that we like believe in, but like artists from other places around the country.
And the world.
Yeah.
You know, like I have a friend who's played at a couple Great Beyonds now.
Yeah.
He's going to be playing the main stage this year. I'm going to play for them in Philly on Friday.
Awesome.
You know, so there's a lot of exchange happening that wasn't happening before that, you know, and you know, there's some people that are a bit skeptical that it's like, oh, well, you know, it's like this $250, $270 ticket or whatever. That's got to be commercial stuff or whatever.
Sure.
But the reality is like, you know, we're doing things with people that we've been fans of for a long time.
Yeah.
We're doing things with people that are regional. We're doing things with people that are local.
Yeah.
And like we're like have a like multifaceted like platform that like kind of serves all of those things.
Definitely.
And it's a rare thing, and we're fortunate to have the opportunity to do it. We don't plan to like stop anytime soon.
Yeah.
And I mean, and all of that is being done also at like what, like 1,000-person capacity ish, like around
less
there.
than that.
Still
Even.
Yeah, less than that. I mean, I keep on going back to my childhood. But like as a young kid going to punk shows and playing in hardcore bands, there was nothing better than playing in the basement or in like a small venue where there is just people that are really involved. I mean, it's like full crowd participation at those events, right? Like we have people able to like see and feel and be with each other. And I felt super strongly that it was very similar at the Great Beyond, getting to be there and be like, we're like in this like, as a unit. Like
it definitely becomes like a community over those 3 days.
Totally.
Like everybody just kind of works as like, you know, the campground becomes like almost like
100%.
and like, you know, everybody's there for everybody.
Yes.
There's no like not help fellow neighbor, which is really, really cool and something that we want.
Absolutely.
And to have that going to a festival, I think is really, really special. I have people, I met my husband, I met my partner, I met my wife, I have my best friend, you know, we celebrate our friendship every Great Beyond.
Sick.
Like, those are special stories that like I feel so privileged.
Absolutely.
There's like a conversation that happened this weekend where like our party like it was talked about how, you know, like the rave scene, like where I came in, you know, it it had like this explosive nature here in the Midwest that was very like, as it was described, like heavy metal.
Yeah.
And like it had to kind of happen like that.
Yeah.
So like in the 90s to like blow through some of the like conforming.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely.
And I think that's hard to see from like 2025.
Yeah,
you know, like it had to get like kind of like controversial,
big time.
so like really like get some things out, you know. And at the same time there was like a lot of like unchecked mental illness. There was a lot of just like kind of craziness that went along too with it.
Self-prescribed.
And you have a lot of like older ravers who are very much like, they're not fond of like this new like ideas of having like guidelines about inclusivity and safety and inclusion. Things like these things that are just like, they felt like kind of a given to like the rave ethos or whatever.
Right.
But because it was just a given, a lot of people were also like kind of left behind or whatever, you know,
being taken advantage of.
You know, like yeah, like whether you're talking about musicians or like women on the dance floor or like, you know, this being like a queer culture that like gets co-opted and turned basically into like straight capitalist culture, you know. And so like it was kind of necessary for people to come in and like add some sort of like ethical guidelines to things to like kind of create change and to like evolve and go past, you know, like I have like a similar value of like where like a lot of those old ravers that kind of turned out to be like sort of like libertarians or whatever. Like I have the value, I have the values of like, I want every person to like have their like world begin with their perspective. And I want them to feel like the complete freedom to make their own choices. And like be whoever the fuck they want to be. I also choose with that to not be a rugged individual, but to be a part of like a community and to be a part of a system. I choose that. That's what I want. I want to like give up certain things of my opinions and like make my own opinions less important and like work with people on like what's good for everybody, right? And I also value like people like being able to like make those decisions on their own, like not having it be like a mandated sort of like, thing.
Like what's
but
trendy.
I also like don't really want to be associated or around people who their values are like, no, I need to be that individual. I am, you know, I am me and that's it. And like, you know, like the community is just, no, if I have to, you know, no rules, you know, like that's, I'm not into that. Like I choose not to be a part of that.
Definitely.
And I don't think that that makes it any less like freedom.
No, absolutely. It just makes you more thoughtful. I mean, if anything, it just makes you a deeper thinker.
We live on a planet with like how many billion people? Like 8 or 10 billion people or 12 or some shit.
And growing every second.
And growing every second. And like, how can possibly all of our opinions matter that much?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like I'm very comfortable with the fact that my opinion really doesn't matter much beyond my own front doorstep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even there,
Don't look at me.
that's debatable, you know.
Yeah, what?
Hey,
I'm like,
yo, dog. There is a part of being. I mean, there is something, and one of a billion reasons why I was so excited about not only having you on the show to play and get to have these conversations, but having you guys both here together to like do this interview is because, I mean, in my life also, I probably wouldn't be alive right now if it wasn't for the person that's sleeping upstairs at this exact moment. That's a person that when it's like teamwork makes the dream work, man. I mean, that's serious. And that's like what you were just saying, you know, I had plenty of opinions that were pretty strong and very individualistic when I was trying to feel out the beginnings of me getting better as health-wise and physically. I mean, the mental and physical really had to come at the same time. But like when it comes to having a community and finding a person or persons that you can like really have there when you're good, when you're bad, and in between, and still be able to have open conversations, communicate, and like push visions forward all together. Like this is what it's all about. I mean, there's like I have no real knowings of what happens after this life, and I don't really. We don't need to jump into that super deep, but I think there's nothing else about life that really makes any sense to me more than just like building community.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
I like grew up doing a lot of like psychedelics and stuff like that. So I like really am like I'm really like comfortable in my own head and like really like find a lot of value in like kind of that whole experience. But also like there's this thing of like where you can like kind of be like so profound looking at it from my one perspective or whatever, and there's something like to that, but also like it's also like someone mentioned the other day, like it's really funny like talking about ego death when you're like, you know, coming to a place of like you know, thinking your own perspective is so profound or whatever. But like the reality is that like, you know, there is something important to that. And like I'm a big like fan of the idea that like, you know, there is the ego loss thing is like kind of like a temporary state sort of thing. You know what I mean? It's like you like learn to like make yourself less important and how fragile we are in the bigger picture, you know. And but also from there, I feel like any artist that's like worth their weight at all like indulges in ego too, you know. And you have to have a balance of like, so like when I'm as the promoter guy or whatever, a big part of my like purpose or like what I've made for myself as a purpose is to platform people while they're indulging their ego. Right. And in hopes that when it's my turn, I get to platform myself or someone else platforms me. You know, to indulge my own ego as well as an artist. You know, and I think that like having like being comfortable with that is important, you know, like being able to like compromise and put things aside for the greater good is like absolutely a skill set we should all like be working with. And also saying, you know, like, this is my perspective, I'm putting it out there.
Yeah.
Artistically is a whole other like really important part of this thing.
Absolutely.
You know, and they can live right together.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be
Black.
No.
The yes and situation. Right?
Yeah.
It's like it's not a one thing or another thing. It's a yes, that, and also this.
Yeah.
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 Totally.
I think we're in a world that's like hard to see those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
multiple things can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Things are getting blurrier and blurrier as the weeks go by, for sure.
Right.
In the state of the United States. Yeah, yeah. It's a
Wild.
little weird out here. Yeah. But luckily we have people like yourselves that are, like you said, giving out those opportunities to help raise up other people, while also that's happening it in itself by you guys. It's like you know, you give and you get in return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, like the reality or the I say that a lot. I think I think at the end of the day, you know, you've got this situation where people just need to pick up and do things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Sometimes people will tell me like, "Oh, well, we don't do things because there's no room because you do all the things." Or you know, and I'm like, "No, that doesn't work for me." Like get on it, do it, like make it happen, create your thing. It takes a long time to do.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to get, like, you know, I see it all the time where like we do parties and our parties are a certain size, and then somebody who comes to our parties decides to go off and do their own thing. And then they're doing it, but they get like one part of the crowd. They're the people that know them from that part of the crowd, right?
Right.
And so like at times, you know, you can tell like frustration sets in that we're not getting all of the crowd, and that must be your fault, you know?
Yeah.
But reality is it just takes a long time to like fall into all the different like groups and meet new people, and like, you know, maybe if you're lucky enough, like some sort of like thing comes where you know, I always felt like, say, like when like Toffler came in doing like the dubstep thing in Minneapolis, it was like timing was of the essence right there. There was a bunch of people that were trying to do that right then. But he was focused, made the connections, and he did it all at the right time. Where like, you know, like in other countries at that time, like techno is like really like solidifying its like foundation beyond like the 90s or whatever. And it happened here in a way, but it never happened like the way that it happened in a lot of other places, like really big, you know. And like it was kind of like the way dubstep came like right at that time, and it was like it appealed to like the kids of that age, and like boom, there was like thousands of kids at the Skyway every week or whatever, you know.
It was
and
fast.
So like it's funny how these things like happen, you know. Like sometimes you can promote and only get 80 people or whatever. Happen to be the right person at the right place, right time. You've got thousands of people, you know, and
a match at a
never
fireworks
know
shop.
how it's gonna go.
Absolutely. I mean, I think sometimes also when people start getting maybe jealous or envious, like the people that will show up to the party and are hoping for all of these same interactions, like, I'm gonna do this just the exact same way as they did it, I'm gonna have the same turnout, and then it doesn't happen, and then, you know, they want to point a finger. I think a lot of those people are also, they're either new and they haven't understood what's going on. They also don't understand, like, you know, you guys have been here. like laying down foundation for a long time. Like people are thinking that they're going to be possibly like the next Toffler or like the next person where they're just like they just end up being a spark at a gas station and then things blow up, and like it's kind of rare that that happens. It's seldom, I feel like, that things like that happen. It's usually behind the scenes in the dark. Somebody's been busting ass.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, finally, things start to turn over. But it's because they've been cranking shit out for like a long time.
Yeah, and you see a lot of people that are like, well, and I've been this person. You see all the stuff that's in your city, and none of it's what you want, right?
Yeah.
And you're like kind of complain about like, I'd do it this way, and I would, you know,
Yeah.
and like, because you're not seeing exactly exactly the thing that you want,
Yeah.
you know, and like usually what it takes is doing that yourself and creating it,
Yeah.
and it's cool, like, you know, like Minneapolis has always been a place where you kind of had to have all the scenes together
Yeah.
to have a big party or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And like this last Saturday, there was like big jungle party that was super successful.
Yeah.
A big techno party.
Yeah.
And I know that a bunch of people that were at that party are a bunch of people that also come to our parties.
Yeah.
You know, but we had like a sellout crowd.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were sold out, but they had, I heard it was really great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, you know, like to see like parties where like a bunch of the people who usually come to our parties aren't there because they're somewhere else, and still our thing is sold out.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, like the whole thing is like, it's like great.
Yeah.
You know, like
enough
that's
to go around.
you know,
Yeah,
and,
it's like what we've been
you know,
striving
like
for.
I don't think it's necessarily always about big parties and stuff. Like I think like smaller, less like parties that focus on local talent and things like that are like super fun, super important. Like things that like I am definitely advocate for, you know, and I also like to see events that like kind of like create community out of the greater like nation at large instead of just like our region or state or city or
Totally. I mean, man, this is exactly what I wanted it to be. I was like, man, this is going to be a really good show. These conversations at the end, I know are going to be good. I know that we could do this for a very long time. And I'm like, I'm seeing you are ready to sleep. It's your birthday tomorrow.
I have to get up. She has to get up early.
She has to get up at 5. I'm gonna ask one more question before hitting a few of these Q&As here real quick.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is a personal question that I just am like, I think it would be something that people would maybe want to know. I know I really want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, get yourself a drink. But like, I'd love to hear like each of your guys's like what do you guys like divide and conquer when it comes to like throwing these like events and these different shows, and like what do you guys here, you can set that right here, bud, and that's all you got the table. But like what is it like when you guys are throwing things like the Great Beyond and Communion and the INTELLEPHUNK shows, like so INTELLEPHUNK is you two, and then the Great Beyond is you two and Don, and then Communion is you two and Christian. Okay, so what does it look like? Justin Zahn, would love to have you on the show sometime. Christian, really hope to get you on the show sometime. This year, well, it's slam, but season 2, that would be so sick. And I really want both of them on the show at some time. That'd be sick. But what is your guys's like? How do you guys divide up your guys' workload when it comes to doing like, I mean, if this is a secret sauce too, I get it. Like you don't have to spill all the beans, but like, what does
I
it
think we're
look
like
like?
all kind of involved in everything. You know, I think we have different sensibilities to like what we bring to the table, you know, for things. And so, there's certain things like booking, you know, like the headliner talent that is like really like focused around Dustin and I.
Yeah.
But then a lot of like other things about the experience are like maybe Jasmine and I, or, you know, like all three of us.
Yeah.
You know, we have like, you know, Dustin lives in Berlin.
Yeah.
So like our work, we work every day, you know, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes on the weekends too, depending on what time of year it is and what our schedules are like. And I would say, yeah, 5 days a week, you know, I'm on the phone with Dustin for 2 to 3 hours a day, like straight.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the day, you know, we are back and forth on Messenger, and we're like doing a lot of just, you know, contracts and planning and like coming up with ideas. There's a lot of spitballing sessions, a lot of, which is the fun stuff, is like when we get creative with things. And like, you know, like say with the Great Beyond, there's a lot of like creative stuff, but like say like some of the warehouse parties and stuff that we do, like, you know, coming up with goofy themes and like kind of like ideas that also like are relevant to things, and like pushing buttons is like kind of like the fun part of the art. You know?
Absolutely.
But we all work together, you know, and
I mean, you know, coming in, you know, being with Steve, we've been together for 20 plus.
Yeah.
Right. So in some way, shape, or form, I've always been a part of it. But I've always had that 9 to 5er, right? And so 2018 is like, okay, Miles was growing up, right? He's not grown. He'll never be grown. He'll always be my baby.
Always be the baby.
But it was kind of like, hey, I want to stop being in the back seat of this, and I want to be in the front seat. And it doesn't mean that I know everything, but I want to learn how to do everything.
Yeah.
I want to know what goes into curating a lineup, and I want to know, like, you know, what it is to book, and what does a contract even look like? Do you know what I mean? All those little logistical things.
Yeah.
But then also like coming into it as well as putting, you know, that female spin and that female energy.
Yeah.
You know,
super important.
Which is super important, and I think is something that has really, you know, made us stand apart a little bit.
Definitely.
And you know, so myself, I'm a huge logistical kind of person.
Yeah.
I love to delegate. You'll ask any of my crew members. I have one sitting over there, Joel. I can pretty much just tell you what to do the day of the party, right? Like, you know, it's just it's a little bit of that. It's like a director's role, I feel like, almost.
Absolutely.
I love taking care of the artists that come to the Great Food. Not as well, you know, I love taking care of the guests that come in. And I love making sure they're comfortable camping, hotel, whatever. But having those artists come in, like being on the road and like doing it and like playing your heart out and like things going right and losing things at the airport and all those. I want to I love making artists because I think that's important too. Because then they're just going to put on a great show, right?
Absolutely.
Then they're going to tell other artists like, hey, you got to go into the Great Beyond, you know, and it just so. I've really you know, feel like I can just kind of like pick up that whole like, lack of a better word, hospitality of what in the experience of what the Great Beyond can be, coming from a different perspective. And then it's just fun working with Dustin. I learned so much.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I put a little different perspective. They're like, oh, well, we didn't really think about it that way, right? So it's like we're all just I've never ever felt like I couldn't ask a question. You know what I mean? Or, you know, didn't feel like I didn't have. Oh, that's I think it's really important for people to see, you know, females in a role that doesn't have to always be back. I mean, I don't even if I had a penny for every time somebody asked.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just let them. I'm like, they're like, oh, you DJ'd in South Beach. I'm like, yeah.
Totally.
Do you like my set?
Yeah.
It's really cool, right? They're like, you killed it. I'm like, yeah.
That's right, I did. Yeah.
But there's other roles that can be taken place in this whole entire culture, right?
Big time.
That are super important because, like Steve said, it's about coming to our shows and having an experience.
Yeah.
Not just coming to a show and going to see a show.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? So like that emotional part of it has to come through and bleed through as well.
Yeah.
And so, you know, not that that doesn't happen if I wasn't around, but I just, you know, very passionate about what I do. I'm very, I want to make sure everybody's taken care of and everybody has a great time, including artists, including the people on the dance floor, including the porta potty guy that comes and changes out the porta potties, like making sure he's taken care of, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So all those little things that people coming into like festivals are like, oh, well, that's where my money's going.
Yeah.
I know that I spent that money and I'm going to be taking.
Totally.
That's my deal. And I want to take care of my crew. And then my crew's going to take care of people because, right? So it's like a trickle down effect that happens. And that magic really, you can see it happen at the on, but it always happens at like every single INTELLEPHUNK.
Yeah, I was about to say Communion and Telephunk. As a person that's even like the little guy, like the little local like act that comes to like jam with you guys, I feel that. Like just as the little guy, which like you said, it trickles down, but like if the little like dude that comes in and spins records sometimes is feeling that love, you know, like everybody else is feeling it just as much. And if not, it's like I'm always super impressed by you guys when it comes to all of that. Like it's pretty incredible. Like right as I walk in, Steve is just waking up. I get carted over. Come see you. Goat tote. We're signing the posters. We're getting yerba mates. We're eating Tums. I mean,
and then it's like, let's go play music now. Let's go on the dance floor even. Like I want artists to come and be like, I want to stay and like be with y'all and party with y'all too, you know, and be on the dance floor.
Absolutely.
Like that's what creates community, and that's what creates that whole thing that everybody always talks about, like, you know, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I hate that word.
I know we hate that word, but like it's still gonna be there. It's still gonna be there.
Yeah.
It's still gonna be there a little bit.
Well, I mean, but also like
it's false positivity.
I'm not talking about false positivity. I'm talking about real positivity, right?
Yeah, but when you have to like
give it an acronym.
Yeah.
Is that what you're not liking?
Okay, it's like I use the word like more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Steve just says.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't play that dumb shit.
Anyways, so yeah, I try to have that community feel, and then everybody just has a great time, and there's.
Yeah, Jack and I have actually had a lot of conversations over millenniums of the talk about how there are special case scenarios where there are people that can do it all, but like some of the best when it comes to like AR, when it comes to throwing events, being a promoter, when it comes to being a producer, when it comes to being a DJ, like in the perfect world, like people could do a single thing and like really master a craft. There are handfuls of people that can do all of the things and do it very well, but it's super rare.
Even if you can, like the thing is that like then you're like doing the thing of someone else's like vision, like, and I think that playing other people's parties and things is like definitely important.
Yes.
But I highly recommend like people like, you know, throwing a party that they're going to play at and like making it their whole vision and like doing a thing, you know.
That's
like,
hard to do though.
Yeah, but it also is like, I think that it's like you said, it's necessary.
Yes, yeah.
And like it also like, I don't know, like it all fits together so much more when it's from the ground up.
Yes,
you
absolutely.
know? And it can be really powerful that way.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely. Having those like people off to the side that are doing like those very specific things in that group as well, I feel like really help propel like the people that are also like doing like I'm playing this show, I have a vision in mind, I want to execute it this way. Having those like
you always need people to help you. Like if you have an idea, like you always need people. That's like the thing we've talked about a lot with like our stuff, you know, like it's not so much that it's from the top down, you know, but it's like I have ideas and things I want to like see happen, so I figured out a way to make them happen, right? And like when other people figure out ideas and they can like get their friends to help them make it happen, that's what it's supposed to be. Like when it's your time to sit in the driver's seat, like enjoy that and take it to its fullest, you know. And then like when it's, you know, I did a lot of working for other promoters over the years, like a lot, like for nothing, you know, for years and years, because I love this. And it also taught me everything that I know. And like, you know, a lot of people want to talk about like labor and like getting paid and like all that's like it's just not enough and all that. But this isn't something where there is that money. It doesn't exist. So like to get it, like, or feel you deserve it, we all deserve it. You know, like everyone deserves to get something for their labor.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, we are getting something for our labor by putting in, there's no schools that you go to learn how to do this. Like if you want to do this, you work with a bunch of people who are already doing it. You pick up their tips, you see the things they do right, you see the things they do wrong. You figure out like what it is that you really want to do along the way. And then you execute it, you know? And like, I think that that's like what a good community looks like, has a lot of people who have a lot of good ideas and a lot of other people who want to help make them happen. You know? And there's no shame in like one person being like, I've got good ideas, let's make this work. You know, it's beautiful when you can have like a collective of people and they're all just like sharing the like energy of like creation or whatever. But I don't know, that works when you know, like I think a lot of times it works a lot better when like someone has a good idea and a bunch of other people want to help out with it and they all make it work together. You follow a vision, you know, and if you can do that with a group of people, that's awesome too. But like either way, it usually takes a whole team of people to make these happen.
When it comes to like the big brain like idea, the too many hens in a hen house thing definitely can happen. It just turns into a lot, and there's like where's the vision here? So having that, like having the one idea with a bunch of people that are down to back it, which once again, I mean, man, if we could ever say the words "the great beyond" enough in an interview, when at the great beyond, you see that there. I mean, you see everybody being like, we all believe in this vision. Like, we all see where these three are wanting to take this. We're here to support it. And it's like definitely a labor of love going on.
Like I said before, the people who pay, the people who buy the tickets, they're going to work every day and they're working hard on that festival too.
Absolutely.
Because if it wasn't for them, it doesn't happen. You know? And so like I just think sometimes like there's a lot of like misconceptions about how this all is, you know, and there's a lot of like people suspecting that there's always like you know, something wrong.
Yeah. Do you think people are suspecting
it's the music industry, so it's a good assumption.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like people sometimes don't even just suspect it, but they kind of want something to be wrong. There's people out there like hoping
there
that
usually
there's
is something wrong.
Yeah.
It's human. It's flawed for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's so like the reality of it is like, do you want this stuff to happen? Do you not want it to happen? Like, would you rather have other things happen? What other things do you want to happen?
Right.
Go make them happen yourself then.
Totally. I mean, even that was like one of the things I remember the most walking out of the Great Beyond for my first time last year was Jack being like, I mean, Jack can sometimes be
I'm sure he's listening.
Jack can sometimes be a little cynical. And
we've met.
Yeah. If you didn't know, I mean, I've been at festivals literally across the country with Jack and played shows all over the place. It's pretty rare to be at a spot and watch Jack walk away being like, I just feel like I need to contribute to this somehow. Like he was like, I want to like donate my time. I want like he was just like, I just want to be a part of this, and like this feels right. Like this, like seeing, because I mean, we all have so many friends that are also so involved, and like Joel, Kyle, like endless amounts of people that are just like constantly putting time into trying to help, in whatever way facet that they can. Jack, hearing Jack just be like, when normally a little cynical, but hearing him just be like, God, I just want to like get involved. Like I was like, it was a little powerful. It was like kind of a powerful moment. I was like, oh shit, Jack is feeling inspired as fuck right now.
We
pretty
need somebody
cool.
to sell ice next year. So
you heard it here first.
Jack, can you sell
Jack
ice?
the
Jack?
Ice Man, Mr. Cool Ice.
Yeah, there. He's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, cool.
So yeah, it's cool, man. Everything that we've touched on in the last, I don't know, we've been talking for an hour almost, or a half hour. Everything that we've touched on is like exactly, this is how I envisioned this interview going. I mean, I was like, I can't wait to talk to these people and get this recorded. Like this is stuff that people need to hear. Like this is an important conversation that I wish could be more public and wish could be talked about to a larger audience. Like if there was an ability to like, you know, have like 1,000 people sitting out here, and then it would be beneficial. At least I truly think so. So I'm really pumped that we're able to make this work.
It's fun.
Sick. On that note, we have some questions.
Oh.
And I'm gonna crank through these so you guys can get some sleep, enjoy a birthday. So this one is from my buddy that was just here 2 weeks ago, Ken, Buka's finest, out in Germany. He was tuning in and listening. He's definitely fucking asleep right now. I mean, if he's not, that would be insane. It's late as fuck over there. But his question, he has a two-parter. This one question is, have you had doubts during your career? If not, what keeps you going? What's the main inspiration throughout the music which keeps the love alive?
I mean, doubts? Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of doubts. Or in the period where things were just rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess in the last couple of years we had some big, you know, like I think in a lot of ways, like we lived the last 5 years of this like big like growth period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like I was still living like how it was the period before.
Yeah.
We did this, and it definitely crept up on me of like, oh shit, my life is different than it was, and I'm not living that like it's different.
Yeah.
So some real doubt going on there.
Yeah.
The other part is that part is easy. Like, I see the value in what people get out of the music because I myself get everything from the music. It all works, you know.
I fixed it. Where did it happen? Okay. Got it. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I've just always been like really inspired to continue like giving to the things that like saved my life as
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Really inspired to share with people and like hope that they have that same inspiration or that same like sense of like connection.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. And then he says, if I may ask another one, what is, and I'm going to have this one for the both of you, what is the main genre that you guys listen to outside of the scene in your private life? Like, what is your guys' main, like, if you were to just be like, this is my ride or die, I'm going home now. Like,
I mean, mostly for me, it's like kind of like post-punk and space rock, like kind of like psychedelic, later 80s, early 90s, like kind of like
shoegazy.
Yeah, like kind of Spaceman 3s, spiritualized, you know, stuff that's like a bit more like tripped out with guitars and things. We listen a lot. Always been a big Pink Floyd fan.
Yeah.
You know, very into like heady music in general.
Yeah.
You know.
Definitely.
Well, same, because I live with him, and so we listen to the same music and everything like that. But if I was alone in my car on a road trip, it would be Madonna. And not like somebody asked me just Saturday night, they're like, which Madonna do you like?
Yeah, right.
Every Madonna.
All the Madonnas.
All the Madonnas.
Yeah.
What a fantastic. And I grew up with her, you know what I mean? Like I grew up in the 80s, like I grew up with this strong woman. Yeah, she made some music that I'm not particularly, of course, but has she made some fucking bangers? Yeah. You know, so I that's my.
Shout out Madonna.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's what's up. Then we have this is always Tim Harvey. He asks this almost every time and it's pretty good. He just asks, what was your first concert?
Mine's gonna be funny.
Oh yeah. I'm so ready.
New Kids on the Block.
Yes.
July 4th. At the somewhere, I don't know, but yeah, New Kids on the Block.
New Kids.
Steve will probably have something super rad, but yeah, mine was New Kids.
It's pretty sick.
Technically, I think there was a concert.
Man, that would be a sick neighborhood concert.
Guthrie and Pete C.
Oh, that's cool.
That was happening.
Yeah, Pete C.
Yeah, rad.
That would be sick. In the neighborhood.
In the neighborhood.
Oh, okay, yeah. You grew up in Florida?
When I was a teen.
Okay, yeah.
And then I would say after that, I went to a concert with Jane's Addiction, Love and Rockets. That was probably my first real concert.
First real concert.
concert.
Yeah.
It wasn't Kanab.
Yeah, I feel like my like first technical concerts were also locals. Like eventually, like the real deal. Yeah, weird. No, I don't know. I can't. That was your first, Joel's first concert. Was
That's
Weird
funny. I think my
Al?
brother went to that concert too, probably.
Oh my god. I don't know what it was, and I know that people are not gonna enjoy this. I just can't get behind Weird. There's something about the cheese that's so cheesy that I can't fucking stand it.
Oh, in the 80s, I hate it.
I hate it now. I mean, I
just don't think about it.
Yeah. I generally don't either, but now that it's brought up, I can't get it. Fucking curly ass hair out of my head.
Okay.
I'm just like,
the vault.
Yeah. Yeah. Get out of my head, Weird Al. Yeah. It's yeah. That's really funny.
That's funny.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say. But that's one of my favorite questions. Yeah. And then we got one from our boy Xavier LeBlanc. Cliff is the best. What is the loudest party you've ever been a part of? The loudest. I am interested.
The first time I ever played at a big rave party was at the Roy Wilkins Auditorium in the sub-basement for a party that Woody McBride and JT did called Soundburnt.
Okay.
And I was the opening DJ on the second stage. I believe the main stage probably had like around 100 boxes or something like that. It was like this monstrous like Woody McBride wall of speakers. And the booths, like the DJs were like kind of back to back. The booths were back to back, and the sound systems pointing two different directions.
What?
And I opened the second stage, and I remember like having like the headphones and having like every knob on the mixer turned up as loud as I could turn it up, and still not being able to hear anything.
My god.
By the end of the set, I remember being able, like, you can actually hear or whatever. But I mean, like, it is a different experience to play like in a big setup anyways, and then have it be with like the other sound system right there was like kind of hell. But that party itself was also like probably the loudest system that really, but there was a lot of big sound systems in Minneapolis like over the years.
Even
pretty big things. We haven't really seen that in a long time.
The last Even Further, which was also first Even Further, that you guys had us out to do the Renegade stage, and when in the tent, Ray Keith was playing, just fucking like it had to have just been maxed. It like I remember all of a sudden like halfway through his set, all of a sudden everything was just like I was like the breaker pop, like all sound stopped.
Yeah, there was like a problem with the generator.
Yeah, I mean it was so fucking loud. Like Ray Keith was ripping, and because I remember all of our buddies had all eaten these greeny meanie tabs, so they're all fucking tripping, and I'm like trying to be the shaman. I'm like, I'm the sober guy, and I'm gonna lead you guys to an experience. And then I heard like in the fucking mile long distance, and I was like, oh, I've never heard anything like that before. I need to fucking go there now.
Yeah.
We're all going, and then like all the buddies on acid were all walking to the tent, and the louder it gets, and the more like scary it sounds. They're all like, I don't know, and I was like, no, we're going in. Like it was fucking loud though. I was like, because you guys had like the 360 sound at that too. It was like the whole wall in front of you, and then there was like a setup behind as well.
Like four corner.
Yeah, four corner. Really fucking. It's not the loudest concert I've ever been to, but it was pretty abrasive. I had a really. What was the you?
I mean, I think it was really when I, you know, because I started going to parties in Seattle, and so, but I really got into like the sound system culture, like here in Minneapolis, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, probably some of like the first parties that Steve threw, but then really were like, I felt like, wow, okay, here's some sound was like one of the first furthers I worked. I was like, all right. And actually, I think it's even before I worked a further, I like just went there.
Yeah.
I just remember sitting in my tent and I'm like, that sounds like, wait, but I can feel
You can feel it. Yeah.
you
The
know?
only further that had good sound was a
2016.
rest of them.
2016 was banging.
Yeah, it was scaring you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That was the first one. Went back.
You guys need to go see this band called Sun. It's loud. It's a physical experience more than an auditory experience.
Really?
Yeah. Sun is intense. They're like it's doomish. They're like extra doom.
Extra doom.
Yeah, you go in and it's just fog machines on top of fog machines, and you can't see anything because it's all black. And then just comes out with this guitar hanging on by his dick and his giant black cloak, and you don't see his face, and he just goes, and it's just like the loudest thing that's ever happened to you in your entire life. It is, and I've stood in front of some really loud sound systems.
Yeah.
This was like borderline uncomfortable. After like an hour, it gets really weird. It's pretty cool though. I mean,
well, I think too, like, it depends on what frequency.
Oh yeah.
If the sub frequencies are loud, like, that's usually pretty feels good. When like the mid range is not enjoyable thing.
Yeah, Sun has all frequencies loud. It's like when you guys were playing that back-to-back setup and you're like turning everything to 12. Yeah. You guys got to go to that. You would love it. I mean, if you could get cheap tickets at some point and they come around, I'm gonna get you guys tickets. I'm gonna be like, we're going.
We're going.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I love it.
Yeah, I think that hit up all these questions. That was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah. I really appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Seriously, love you guys. And if I may request one last track. Just like if you were to play a track out and you're like, I want to just play this one last track, it can be anything.
Okay.
One track. You just gotta go back there, push play, and we'll shut this thing down and get you guys home.
All right.
I love you guys.
Love you too.
close the door, put out the light. No, they won't be home tonight. The snow falls hard, and don't you know? The winds of Thor are blowing cold. They're wearing steel that's bright and true. They carry news that must get through. They choose a path where no one side by side with them. Devil mocks their every step. Snow drives back the foot that's slow. The dogs of doom are howling more. Oh, they carry news that must get through.